I love possession in media. The idea of someone's body being taken over by a demon, ghost, what have you, it's just so interesting to me. Seeing the person do things against their will, then occasionally being able to break free from the thing controlling them. I don't know why I love it so much. One of my favorite examples of possession is Lena from the DuckTales reboot. The way she gets possessed by her aunt, and when she's able to break free from the possession, how her aunt, like her shadow, just leaks from her eyes. It's just so damn cool. So yeah, I think it's obvious I love the trope and all, but now we're gonna focus on something else for a second. Paper Mario Color Splash is one of my favorite games of all time, and yes, I am aware that's a controversial opinion. I will probably make a video later explaining why I love the game so much, but for right now we're gonna focus on something about the game I don't like. Bowser's the main villain of the game, surprise surprise, but the thing is, he isn't the villain of the game. In the game, Bowser wants a rainbow shell, so he mixes a bunch of paint in the Prisma fountain together, but that just turns it into black paint, and then he gets possessed by the black paint. So, since the black paint is possessing Bowser, and Bowser is doing everything in the game against his will, the black paint is actually the main villain of the game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, Luke, you must really like this since you love possession so much. And you would be right if they didn't completely butcher the idea of Bowser being possessed. The problem is, they never do anything with the fact Bowser is possessed. In fact, by the end of the game, it's outright ignored Bowser was possessed in the first place. Despite the fact it was acknowledged multiple times by other characters in the game that Bowser was possessed. Was acknowledged by Huey when they saw the memory of Bowser getting possessed in the first place. Was acknowledged by Peach when she said Bowser felt different, and she even outright stated that it was like he was possessed. Hell, we even see Bowser break free of the paint's possession during the final fight, and he gets reabsorbed by the black paint, and Mario and Huey just completely ignore it. After you defeat Black Bowser, which is what possessed Bowser by the black paint is called, which, it just sounds a little... But anyway, after you defeat it, Bowser is freed from the possession, and it is very clear he has no memory of anything that has happened. Mario and Huey then celebrate how they beat Bowser, even though it wasn't him doing anything wrong because he was possessed. To make things worse, during the final cutscene, Peach even makes a remark about how she hopes Bowser learned his lesson, and I'm like, what lesson? He was possessed, unless she's referring to him not mixing rainbow paint, which I highly doubt she is. It's infuriating. The game outright acknowledges multiple times that Bowser is possessed and not in control of his body whatsoever. But after you beat the final boss, it's completely ignored, like it never even happened. Since they never do anything with the fact Bowser is possessed, it makes me wonder why he was even possessed in the first place. Anyway, in the museum, you can see concept art of, like, some original designs of Black Bowser, and to be honest, some of them look cooler of what we actually got. But one of the designs is different. It's some type of black figure thing. I think it was originally supposed to be the design for the black paint that was possessing Bowser, but for some reason it was cut. Maybe there was supposed to be another phase in the final boss where you would just fight the black paint itself and not it possessing Bowser. Again, it could have been cut, but I have no idea for what reason. I do think this could make sense though, considering it's after the final boss everyone ignores Bowser was possessed. It's acknowledged during the fight and before it that Bowser is possessed. This is just a theory I have, but I think it holds some weight. And if I am right, I really do have no idea why it could have been cut. Time, maybe, but I have no idea. Something else I want to bring up is that Paper Mario Color Splash isn't really known for having the best story. And I mean, the story isn't really bad, but, it's not great. But the thing is, the story could have been great. You see, on surface level, Black Bowser's plan is just that he wants to cover the entire world in black paint. But the story could have been so much better than that, and I'm going to prove it to you using only the facts that are presented to us in the game. This is how the story could have went. We learn in the game black paint is incredibly toxic, and it can easily kill someone, as seen with Mario at Sunglow Ridge. We also know that black paint can also possess people, as clearly demonstrated with Bowser. We also know that black paint is made by mixing a bunch of colors together. Now let's look at the black paint's plan. First, the black paint possesses Bowser, and using Bowser's army, it attacks Prisma Island. Gets his Shy Guy minions to suck up a bunch of paint from the island and then put the paint in buckets attached to airships. Then the airships are taken to Bowser's Sky Castle, where all the paint is mixed into black paint, and the black paint is put into black paint bombs. Black Bowser throws the big paint stars all over the island so no one can restore the color. Kamek would then send the paper Toad, drained of its color, to Princess Peach. And Mario, Peach, and a Toad would come to the island, and Black Bowser tries to get his minions to kill them. But his minions fail, so he sends the Koopalings to protect the big paint stars so Mario and Huey can't get them. Bowser would then kidnap Peach. Now, and by the way, even in the game, Bowser kidnapping Peach feels really shoehorned in. It's mentioned somewhere that Peach says that it was just to demonstrate his power, but I do think in the manual it states that Black Bowser just really liked the color pink, and Peach was pink. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but we're just going to skip over that part. Now, all of that does happen in the game. I just added a little more detail to it in order to give it that little oomph a story really needs. Just think about how much better the story could have been if it just had that much more detail. But now I'm going to say something that didn't happen in the story, but it could have based on the facts of everything the game tells us. Black Bowser wants to cover the entire world in black paint. It is stated in the game, and Huey even says that he has the paint to do it. But when you really think about it, covering the entire world in black paint would have devastating effects. We know the paint is toxic, so it would basically wipe out every living race on Earth. But we also know that the paint can possess people. So the paint would then possess the dead corpses of all the animals, creating a new race. Think about how cool that would have been if that was Black Bowser's motivation. That would have been awesome, and it could have been done too, because I came up with that only using what the game tells us. But the game just doesn't do that, so Black Bowser's actual plan is just to paint the world black. So, in summary, Black Bowser's plan could have been about him killing everyone on Earth and then starting a new population, and, you know, that could have happened, but it didn't, because I guess the writers just didn't want that to happen, or it could have been that Nintendo doesn't want Paper Mario to have very interesting stories anymore. The game also doesn't take advantage of the fact Bowser is possessed, so the story remains bland. Paper Mario Color Splash is one of the worst possession stories I've ever seen, with loads of missed potential, and Bowser being possessed being completely forgotten about by the end of the game. Also, keep in mind, this is all coming from someone who likes Color Splash, but boy does this possession stuff in this game piss me off. If they were going to mess up the possession of Bowser this bad, Bowser just shouldn't have been possessed in the first place. Anyway, that's all for this video, and see you next time.